Letter to Artist in Recovery / Daryl P. 7:44 West Coast time in the morning. It's the 29th of March 2025. I'm watching a video regarding a woman in a wheelchair. It's heartbreaking as hell, isn't it? Didn't matter if someone just sees it for the first time or on a consistent basis. Sometimes it does hurt like hell. You talked about it in your videos about your drug usage and stuff and how it affected you a great deal being on the streets sometimes, but you still had a roof over the head one way or another. I relate. Other people can relate. It's not coming up to see them, it's being in that particular position. I've heard in the Congress sometimes people talked about it and just hear the guffaws. But we have it all over the place, don't we? Hardest damn things to deal with people who are going through this. But it's an understatement and a useless statement. I can come up with all the grandiose expressions on this one. I hear all these other politicians and other people say, we must, we must. Yeah, they'll give out the word salad, but don't do the action necessary. Or maybe they're afraid of the aid agencies, how people pilfering in that should have the money helping other people out, and it gets pilfered by other people who are just too damn greedy. It's coming across stories like that. Makes people more hesitant on giving aid and comfort to other people. We got them out here in Roseman. We got them out here in Roseman, California. We've had our fair share, but there's no such thing as fair share. We've had state laws coming up in different states and counties being enforced where they take the homeless and throw them out and then being treated as non-citizens. We had controversies going on for years over this. We had states suing through the Supreme Court if homelessness is illegal. Some cities, some counties, some states try. And then it gets too damn great. What pisses me off is hearing all the all the well wishers saying, we must, we must. Yeah. Camera hogs. We need to be reminded. You talked about the aid workers from Health and Human Services getting kicked out, laid out, laid off. What money we get filtered through a useless federal government right now into the states They're struggling with this, not to mention the cities and counties. Every year we get into an audit just to see every few years, sometimes every 10 years, how the populations of homelessness has grown. You're afraid of hearing the stories. Well, you ought to. So is everybody. Food giveaways. Sometimes it pisses me off that I see the bling other people show when they go to food giveaways, but that's probably the only damn thing they've got that they can't sell off, and they're wearing it like albatrosses around their necks. And maybe there is a story to this lady with the wheelchair. Some people look at her as a scam artist. Maybe, or maybe not. We've seen our fair share. I've seen our fair share. Taking a bus ride, going from one place to another place. I'd seen my fair share of it. Going through intersections, and I see on the streets and in the corners the barkers, the silent barkers with the signs. And sometimes you couldn't tell whether or not they were legitimate or not. But you were focused on that particular person and the sign. If you have kind heart, you shell out what you could. I think you can afford it. But for those others who are seeing for longer distance, longer time, maybe it's not so. But here's the thing. We happen to deal with their better natures, even if they are a flim flam. Would it hurt to bring a cup of coffee or sandwich, something to wake them up by? Just be quiet about things. Just don't record. Just put some food down for them. Remember, one of these here days, it's going to be you. Yeah, people are surprised a young person. You'd be surprised. Even the young need help from time to time. There are some songs throughout the ages have been sung by about this. And they talked about being homeless. Some people buy records of the thing and sing it to themselves. Did they actually know how haunting it could be, especially when it happens to them? People think this is a new thing. You ever heard of hobos? People would hitch rides in freight cars, travel from place to place. You can't afford it. They're just traveling from one place to another place for whatever reasons, either adventure or getting away from an area. And there'll be little places set up for the homeless during those days. They called them hobos. Whatever little things they could shove into a damn knapsack and they carry it with them. Be surprised what they can come up with for survival cooking. Glamorize it on YouTube. was a song for that one? King of the Road. You ever heard of that one? There goes my dog again. Roger Miller sung this song, King of the Road. We listened to it back in the 40s, 50s. Kept thinking it was just a song. People who write the song have inspirations one way or another. And they say this. Even in ancient times. Even in ancient times. Hang on a second. She must be obeyed is up. Yeah. Times like this, I have to be grateful for what I have. Because I also know what it's like to lose. And sometimes by actions well beyond my control. If I can help, I'll help. If I can't, it pisses me off that I can't. Because now I'm reminded what limitations I have and what limitations I have to succumb. I'm reminded of how much I've got left that I have to utilize and use for things. And it's scary that I have to be penny pinching a lot. You know what scares the hell out of me? Not being homeless. I've been there before, and yes, it does scare the hell out of me. Not having the money coming in and not able to have the money because I'm still dependent upon Social Security for everything. And having that pilfered and pillaged and plundered. Pirates in there going after stuff like this. And yeah, feels like I can't control anything anymore. For right now, as of this date, I still have a little bit of money left for this month. That'll last. And I have to make sure this money is going to last until next month. Because it may be the only money I got left for another month. And yeah, it sucks, but you know, I have to deal with it. I've been in a situation before where I got kicked out. Hell, I've been in it many times. Growing up, kicked out of one place to another place. Felt like a damn hobo. Never had a permanent place of my own or long term enough. With whatever efforts my brother and my mother and I could do, we managed in certain places to keep rent for years. Longer than a year and shorter than 15. But even that being said, you get jaundiced, you get used to it. You know, realize you're next until it happens. I tried not to make waves. I tried not to tick people or forces of nature off. Because eventually I'm going to be in a situation where I'm going to be needing human kindness to get me out of things. Regardless if it looks like a con or not, part of my nature is still to help if I can. I can do the remember whens, use them as useless words of wisdom to people. Unless you've been through it, unless you walked through it, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I haven't owned property. I've been a renter all my life. Tried to sign a deed to a trailer home, but it turns out even that could be turned temporary. You know what gets to me sometimes, Daryl? Songs we can write about the homeless can turn out to be pop sellers. Until you're in that situation, then it's not so much of a pop seller you can sing on the street. There is. I could throw up all the smoke screen, smoke and mirrors saying I was this and I was that and I remember this. It don't mean shit unless you walk through it. And you feel. Of course you can feel. You don't feel. You don't get it. And it's hard as hell to deal with that aspect of it. Your video is a reminder of survival we're still doing and we're still dealing with. You got a sandwich and a cup of coffee next time, or even some water. It'll be hopefully appreciated. You just don't stick around for the fanfare. Just put it there and say a small prayer as you're leaving. Here's the thing about it. They're not looking for people going after fanfare. Just go and do the job and get out. If you can get something for them to survive on, if you maybe got a place for them to crash for the night, you do what you got to do, what you can do. You don't have to be perfect at it, Daryl. But you have to show humanity.